Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Japan once again, as you may have guessed by my attire, a lovely present from my girlfriend of course, and we have another present to review from her today. So for this one we're going to return to one of my favourite breweries in Japan, Fujizakura Heights Beer, who come from Yamanashi Prefecture, known as Fujizakura Kogen Biru in Japanese of course, and we're having a taste of their Rauchbock today. This is one of their winter seasonal beers and it comes in at 7%. And these guys have a German brewmaster of course, so they produce some pretty damn awesome stuff. This beer is really highly rated, 98 overall on Rate Beer and 97 within the style. I have tried the Rauch beer for you on the channel before, and they do have a Doppelbock which I'd love to try at some point in the future, but this one is supposed to be a kind of infusion of both of these styles, so definitely looking forward to this one. I hope you guys enjoy the review as well. If you are particularly interested in Japanese of course, do make sure you check out Sotogami Akihabeera. My friends Casey and Eric there, they do a lot of really nice Japanese beer reviews, so I'll put the link to their channel in the description below. And do check out liquor store Asahiya in Taishibashi, Maichi, Osaka. This is where Michiko got this beer of course, and Koji, who owns the store, is a really nice guy and does speak English as well, so he'll help you pick out some really nice Japanese beers. So as I say, check out those links in the description below. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Fujizakura Kogen Beer before. This is my 4th review if I'm not mistaken, and there no doubt will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do consider subscribing to the channel. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries as well. There is one for Japanese beer. I've got some whiskey and sake reviews you can have a look at as well. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review. Always interesting to hear from you guys, and your support of the channel is always hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Fujizakura Heights Beer then. So this brewery, as I mentioned to you, are based in Yamanashi Prefecture, actually very close to Kawaguchi Lake, which is at in the foothills of the Mount Fuji region in Japan. But this company is also known as Fujikan Kokai Hatsu, and the beers are marketed as Fujizakura Heights beers. And this is really common in Japan actually. A lot of the little craft breweries are actually part of a bigger parent company. And I'm not sure if it's meant to just be a sister company or a subsidiary or exactly what it is, but this is very common. The brewery or the company has a slightly different name from the actual beer, so just be aware of that when you're trying Japanese beers. But the head brewer is Miyashita Hiromichi, and he was sent by the company to study brewing in Germany, and he worked under a brewmaster in Hiroshima who had actually graduated from the same academy in Germany before he headed over there himself. And he went over to Germany for 6 weeks with a translator in 1996 because apparently he didn't speak a word of German, so that must have been quite an interesting experience for him. But upon his return to Japan, he studied for a further 2 months in Iwate, perhaps with Iwatekura beer. I'm not quite sure about that, but maybe they came along a little bit later. But the brewery actually have a restaurant called Sylvan's Restaurant, and they wanted Miyashita to actually learn how to make a Rauch beer because they felt that it would really suit the atmosphere in the restaurant. But they also have a Pils and a Weizen beer, and this is one of the things that is really quite noticeable with the craft beer scene in Japan. German beer styles are very popular. It probably isn't too far off the truth if you said that there's more Alt beers and Kulches in Japan than there actually are in Germany, because those two styles are very, very popular there. The small G-Biru breweries that came out were producing a lot of these ones. But basically Fujizakura Heights saw the Rauch beer as a bit of a lost art in Japan, but this beer has made them really quite famous in the country now. But the brewery now of course focuses on brewing its own interpretations of the various German beer styles, and they're one of the most decorated craft breweries in Japan. In fact, they're a very, very popular brewery, and in my experience they've produced some really quite nice beer. They do have a bar in Roppongi as well, which I did visit with Casey and Eric and Michiko of course when I was over in Japan last time. It is really nice. They've got some really nice food there, so if you get the chance, do go and check out the Fujizakura bar in Roppongi in Tokyo. So yeah, that's enough about the brewery just now. As I said, a really highly rated Japanese brewery. If you get the chance to try some of their beers, I really do recommend that you do, particularly for fans of German beers, because these guys do them really nicely. So just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, they've got the Dunkelweizen, they've got the Weizenbock of course, the Festival Weizen, the Pils, the Rauch, the Rauchbock, which is this guy here, Sakura Bock, Schwarzweizen, Weizen, and also another. I think they do have a Märzen beer that comes out seasonally as well. They've got a few different seasonal beers. As I say, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. Google Chrome does a pretty good translation of the Japanese as well, so you can navigate that for yourself. But anyway, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. Certainly looking forward to this one. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. So yeah, as you can see, there is Mount Fuji there. This one is a little bit different in artwork from what you'd normally expect from Fujizakura heights. Of course, there is the Fujizakura bottle cap. That's a kind of cherry blossom petal, if you like. But you can see here, this is the katakana. So it says Rauchbock. There, of course, you don't get some sounds in Japanese, but there you can see katakana, of course, is the sort of alphabet that they use for foreign words. And there you can see this is kanji up here, Fujizakura Heights Kogen, or Fujizakura Kogen beer, I guess I should say, from Mount Fuji. But yeah, really nicely presented. Best before the 19th of August 2017, 7% ABV. There you can see Biru on the side there in Japanese, but really nicely presented, this one. Definitely looking forward to it. So without further ado then, let's get the beer open and we'll get on with the tasting then. Oh, doesn't want to open. There we are. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening in this one, and we'll get it out and into the glass. My stomach's actually rumbled just as soon as I've opened this beer. I guess it's trying to tell me something. Maybe it can just smell the bacon or the meat on this beer. Oh, that's poured with a bit of a massive head. That must have just been because the bottle cap didn't want to come off actually. Either that or it's just been bumped around when Michiko's been bringing it over with her. But yeah, absolutely lovely looking beer, this one. As you can see, you know, it really has, it's poured pretty much a Coca-Cola black colour. There is a bit of a ruby edge to it, but I'm not sure how well you guys can see that on the camera. But even just moving this beer about, you know, I can smell the lovely meaty characters. There's a good bit of that typical brown breadiness to this beer as well. You can just smell that when you're moving the beer about. But as you can see, if I put my fingers behind the beer, not transparent at all. I think it's fair to describe this beer as a sort of ebony rosewood colour, probably more of an ebony or kind of blackwood colour, I guess you would even say. I think ebony probably is a better descriptor. There's a solid finger, or solid two fingers actually, of a beigey tan head on this beer. It looks absolutely lovely. There's no real visible carbonation, just one or two bubbles, one or two sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, it looks absolutely lovely, this beer. Kind of exactly what you'd expect from a smoked bock beer, although usually a regular doppelbock will be just a little bit lighter and have a kind of noticeable ruby tint to it. This one is a little bit darker than that. So let's have a closer look at the aroma on this one then. Yeah, so first off with this, it's the brown bread that comes out. If you don't sugar the beer up at all, it's a nice kind of brown kind of wholemeal bread that comes off of this one. If you know German rye bread is a very good descriptor for the aroma of this beer, but when you sugar it up, that's when you start to get some of these nice meaty notes out of this beer. It's definitely a meaty smoke rather than a peaty smoke. Often the Scottish smoked beers that we get are more peaty rather than meaty, of course. But you can really smell those meaty notes in this beer. It's almost just like a roasted ham actually. But to me, because I know this kind of beer style and stuff, the Rauch malts that you get, it's definitely German or Bamberg Rauch malts that are used in this one. You can just tell from the aroma after you've tried a couple of these beers. So that'll have been quite an expensive import for them, I imagine. But really nicely done. You can smell this sort of woody, nutty character just underpinning it. Of course, usually it's beechwood that they burn to smoke the malts with, but you can get special ones like the Schlenkerla Eiche, which is where they use oak wood, of course. But this is really, really nice. You can definitely enjoy the aroma of this beer. You can smell a little bit of the toasted, kind of roasted brown sugars in there that will be coming from the doppelbock side of things. But definitely big brown bready notes, meaty smoky character, bit of roasted kind of toasted caramel, maybe even some kind of treacle in there as well, that sort of darker caramel, or molasses as the Americans would say. And you can smell a little bit, I'm getting just a little bit of a red fruity ester from this one, which again is the doppelbock side of things. There's maybe a little bit of a sort of earthy noble hop character to this one, but really it's the smoky malts and the brown bread that are dominating the aroma of this one. And like I was saying, a bit of that toasted brown sugar in there, but it smells absolutely lovely. So just make sure you take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to try this one now. So this is the Rauchbock from Fujizakura Kogen Biru in Yamanashi Prefecture over in Japan. Kampai. Yeah. You know, straight away, it's a damn good beer. I can see why it's as highly rated as it is. feel quite lucky to have tried this one, because I think probably not many Western people have actually tried this this particular beer. But that is lovely. If you get the chance to try this beer, for whatever reason, do it. You know, it really is very, very good. The Rauch beer from Fujizakura Heights is really good as well. It is a little bit, it's not quite as strong in flavour as the German ones, I guess you would say. And that is a characteristic feature of Japanese beer. When it comes to Japanese food, the flavours are all kind of quite well blended together. And when you try some of the Japanese beers, especially the German style ones, all the flavour elements are there. But you find that they're just a little bit kind of almost toned down and blended better together, and that's just of course to suit the Japanese palate, and that's something you have to bear in mind when you're testing Japanese beers. But this one for me, you know, this could just be a straight up German beer. You can just, with this one, it is straight up German. There's none of this kind of blending thing that you normally get with Japanese beers. The mouthfeel, of course, might just give you a bit of an indication that it is a Japanese beer, because it's quite a wet and drinkable mouthfeel, this one, whereas the German ones might just be that little bit thicker. But I mean, in terms of the flavour, it really is just all there. It's a great beer, this. And as I always say, with these darker beers, sugar them around your palate and just let the whole mouth adjust. But this one is beautiful. I mean, in the middle of your palate where the malts are going to come out, you've got that nice kind of German brown rye bready malt base there. It's not really quite as sweet as rye, right enough, but it's a German brown bread malt base that just goes right across the middle of your tongue. You can feel as you move out towards the edge of your palate there, the woody notes, and the maybe even slightly nutty, but more of a woody character is coming out of this beer as well. In the middle of your palate, you've got a good bit of kind of sweet caramel in there. It's actually a bit of a darker toasted caramel that's coming out of this one. I don't think it's quite treacle, but definitely a sort of toasted caramel, brown sugar sort of thing going on in this beer. It really is lovely, this beer. You know, and the thing is, it's 7%. It is actually very drinkable as well. 7% or 8%, I think, usually is normal territory for a German Doppelbock beer, but this is lovely. In the back corners of the palate, I'm getting a little bit of earthiness. That'll be the sort of German noble hops coming out, and that just smooths out as you go further forward on the palate. Maybe you can pick out a little bit of the kind of lighter, almost grassy, but kind of darker grassy notes from the beer as well, but mainly it's an earthy hop character I'm getting from this one. It's not too dry either, it's really just very, very smooth, and again, that's what you expect from this beer style. This is lovely, you know. As I said, if you get the chance to try this beer, definitely do it. But if you just go behind the front curve of the palate there, that's where you get the fruity esters coming out of the beer. You just wait and feel that little oily bubble, and that's where the fruity side of the beer's coming out. So as you move from the middle of the palate where the caramel is, you can just feel a little bit the darker elements coming out of this one, the kind of darker, almost molasses type elements coming out of this beer. But then you have that little oily bubble where the fruity esters come out, and for me, it's actually a kind of it's a slightly figgy flavour and a sort of candied red fruit ester that's coming out of this one for me. Yeah, there's a little bit of a candied red fruit thing that starts to come out towards the end of the aftertaste. You can feel that slightly candied red fruit in there, maybe a little bit of figs as well, but then it starts to, it's quite interesting because you can just feel the sort of smoky and meaty characters just pushing their way out of that a little bit later on. For me, this one doesn't start off too meaty, but it's really in the aftertaste that the smoky character comes in. The sort of meaty smoky flavours just lingering in the aftertaste, they start to push their way out. The bready character's sitting there, and some of the earthy hop is lingering into the aftertaste as well. But again, it's a really, really top-notch beer, this one. I can't recommend it enough, so if you get the chance to try it, have a go at it and see. It's really cool to see a country like Japan. You know, Japan has a huge heritage with brewing sakes and things like this, and it's really cool to see them starting to apply that to beers and stuff now. It's kind of the same in a way, I guess, with Scotland and whiskies. You know, we had a long distilling heritage, and it's really cool to see this kind of knowledge of alcohol and things like that producing some of the good craft beers we're getting today. So this is a really cool thing to think about when you're trying craft beers. but really lovely. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I'd say this is definitely a full-bodied beer. It's very, very oily in comparison to some of the other Japanese beers that I've had. This one really is at the kind of top end of body when it comes to that. A lot of Japanese beers, like I said, they've got all the flavour elements you expect, but they are quite light in the body, mainly because of the temperatures that you're going to find over there. It can get very, very hot over there, like 36 degrees in Osaka in the summer. It's mental. But this one is a little bit heavier, and I can see why they're doing this as their winter seasonal in that regard. The carbonation is quite smooth, actually. There is just a little bit of a prickle to it, but at the same time there's a good balance between the sort of oily mouthfeel and the wet mouthfeel that you might expect from this beer. The malt base is quite smooth, of course, but then you've got a little bit of kind of roasted character to it. It does become quite sweet later on. The meaty character just lingers there in the beer. As I say, that comes out in the aftertaste. The hops are very, very smooth, and there's a little bit of a juicy, fruity character. And overall, like I said, it's a great, great beer. If you get the chance to try this one, this is probably one of the best kind of Rauch beers, or Rauchbocks, or Doppelbocks, whatever, that you're going to find outside of Germany. I've not tried all that many of them, hands up to that. I think this one, you know, when it's rated, it was rated in the top 50 smoked beers in the world, this one. So if you get the chance to try it, I highly recommend that you do. They have got a brewer who trained in Germany, so he's very good at German beer styles and these Rauch beers as well. So yeah, really cool to return to Fujizakura Kogen Biru and try another one of their beers. This one really has it's really, in a way, it's kind of blown me away. This is a very, very good beer. If you get the chance to try this seasonal beer from them, I highly recommend that you do. So yeah, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media. Let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer if you happen to have tried it before. As I mentioned earlier in the video, do check out Casey and Eric at Sotogami Akihabeera. They've got some really nice Japanese beer reviews. I kind of just do them when I can, but I will be heading out to Japan again this summer. But make sure you check out some of the Fujizakura Heights beers if you get the chance. The Rauchbock is excellent, but any of the beers you try from these guys, if you like German beer styles, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy them. So until the next time, it's Slangy just now, and I will catch you very soon. The Rauchbock from Fujizakura Kogen Beer in Yamanashi Prefecture, Japan. Kanpai.